Okay, so we are going to continue our waist shaping. So we've gotten our excess, and right now the excess we had was about 7.5 centimeters. So remember, we got to this point, our excess, we turned to the centimeter part of the tape to measure it, and we had 7.5 centimeters. So on our waist darts, well, okay, we're going for the back darts for gowns. I don't compromise 2.5 centimeters. I mean, it's perfect. It gives you a perfect fitting for your back shape. So the way you get your darts position for your back is front dart position plus 1 inch. So if your nipple to nipple divided by 2 gives you 3.5, that's your front dart position. You add 1 inch to it and you have 4.5, which is actually what I used here. So on the high waistline, you're going to measure 2.5 cm to the left, and you go ahead and measure 2.5 cm to the right out of that 7.5 centimeters excess you have. So we just come down about 7 inches. We'll come down about 7 inches, and then we connect. You know, a dart is always a triangle. It could be a double inverted triangle, it could be a single triangle. So we go ahead and connect it, and as usual, just like our blouse, our dart terminates at the armhole point at the back piece. So I just had to label the 2.5 cm we used, 2.5 cm to the left, 2.5 cm to the right. So I'm going to do something a little unusual, something I didn't exactly do in the blouse, but this is still another method of doing it. Like I told you, I'm going to show you some different methods of doing certain things. So I had 7.5 cm, now I have used 5 cm. What do we have left? 2.5 centimeters. So I'm going to use only 2.5 centimeters to dart my front. I wouldn't use that full range we used in like we did in simple darted blouse again. So I'm going to have 2.5 centimeters divided by 2 for the left and the right dart. So I have 1.25 cm to mark on the left, and 1.25 to mark on the right. As usual, we're going to mark our dart position. Remember how we get our dart position: nipple to nipple divided by 2, or shoulder divided by 4. So we just mark it. All right, so on the high waistline to the left, we're going to mark 1.25 centimeters. To the right, we're also going to mark 1.25 centimeters. Then we'll come down from the high waistline, we'll come down by 7 inches and mark. So now we're going to connect with our metal rule. So we are also going to connect our waist dart to our under bust point. Please and please do not go straight to the bust point. Go to the under bust point first and foremost. So after connecting this, the next thing we're going to do, since we don't have any excess left, so there's no need for side shaping anymore. So the next thing we're going to do is our under bust shaping. So for the under bust shaping, I'm going to measure the under bust area of the front and measure the under bust area of the back. 1, 2. You know, our dart is no longer part of our measurements. 3, 4. You jump and pass the darts. 5, and then 6. So we're going to measure our front piece from number 1 to number 2. So meanwhile, our under bust measurement is 32. Sorry, round under bust measurements is 30. So we'll have 30 divided by 2, and that is 15 inches. So I've gotten 10. So I'm just continuing. When you get to the dart, you lift your tape and pass the dart, because the dart is no longer part of your measurement. So it was at this point I got my 15. I stopped. This is now the excess. So with this excess, now you now do your under bust shaping. Measure your excess in centimeters. So I measured it in centimeters, and I was able to get 6 centimeters. So you mark 3 cm to the left, and you mark 3 cm to the right. Then you connect to the bust using a curve. You connect to the bust using a curve, and still you connect back to the high waist point, as like this. So you see a slight difference between this one and the pattern we used for the blouse was that the high waist point was big. You know, they had the same joining point, 33 cm, both on the high waist, unlike this one now where you reduce what you had on your high waist and all that. So as usual, we're still going to mark our armhole dart exactly the same way we did for simple darted blouse. So there are just minor alterations between blouse and gown making. So we'll connect ½ inch up and then we'll connect ½ inch down, and then we go ahead and blend it like this. Of course, we'll have our slight excess will come in and connect. So before ever we add our sewing allowance, just like blouses, it should actually be 2 inches in front and then 2.75 inches at the back. But before ever we add that, we're going to do what we call low waist shaping. Now this low waist shaping is for you to make sure that there is no shortage in your round low waist measurement. You know, before we did the okay, let's do the zip shaping first, then I'll talk more about low waist shaping. We'll mark our 0.75 inches at the 3 cardinal points of high waist, under bust and bust point. So we'll connect it exactly the same way we did it for blouses. So the next point we are going to do is that we're going to connect it to the hip position. So after connecting it to the hip position, we'll go ahead and connect it to the full length, just on the inside, the center line, on the full length line. So this one I'm connecting now is what we'll call buttocks shaping. We've already talked more extensively about this in pencil skirt making, so it really shouldn't be an issue at this stage. So the next thing we'll do is that we're going to connect it to the neck point above, that's on our line 0. And now our zip shaping is done and ready. Of course, you already know that this other edge, this excess, is going to be a waist. So that's why our sewing allowance at the back will be 2 inches. Then we'll pay with 0.75. So I was telling you that the essence of low waist shaping is for you to ensure that there is no shortage in your round low waist while you're doing all these whole measurements, because we didn't really put any measurements on the high waist. So the same way you did other shapings, you passed, you jumped and passed your darts, you jump and pass, and also do this one, round low waist divided by 2. So anytime you hear under bust shaping, high waist shaping, they all go the same way. So this time around, the excess I got in my low waist shaping was actually 6 cm. Now look, for people that are slim, well, anyway, they will get some excess though. Plus size, people that have very big hips will get some excess. So whatever excess you get, you share it into 2. And that's if you have excess like this. I mean, like this is huge. You share it into 2. You connect it to the high waistline. Please do not connect to the bust. Connect to the high waistline before you connect to the hip. Please don't cross the high waistline, because you've already settled the high waist, so that you don't alter the measurements you already have on the high waist. But if this person has a big stomach, like this pattern I'm making is actually for someone that has a big stomach. The reason I altered the pattern for the 3 blouses I've shown you so far, 2 blouses and 1 gown, is that I want you to see what you will see when you're making clothes for a plus size person. I'm actually expecting your questions on that. If the person has a big stomach, don't bother with low waist shaping. It will rather make the stomach to be more obvious, pop out more and all that, and you don't want that. So if the person has a big stomach, even if you measure the low waist shaping and see the person has excess, allow it. Leave that old line, I mean that this first line that I cancelled, just leave it like that, so that the stomach won't be too obvious. It won't be too obvious that the person has a big stomach. But I've done this low waist shaping now, and this pattern is for someone that has a big stomach. She would have as in, it would be very obvious that she has a big stomach, which is not good. But I shall have to do it because I need to teach you low waist shaping, so that when you're making stuff for slim people, you can actually know how to do the low waist shaping by yourself. People that have flat tummy and all that. Okay, so now we're going to add our sewing allowance exactly the same way we added in our blouses. We're going to add sewing allowance of 2 inches in front and 2.75 inches at the back. And that is it. This is actually the end of our pattern making for gown, and the next class will be posted shortly. So I'm expecting your questions, I'm expecting your patterns. So thank you for watching. See you in the next training video.
Onye ji kashi